Amara Johnson was 12 years old and in the 7th grade at Westview Middle School. She sat in the back row of her math class every day. Amara was a quiet girl with dark brown eyes and hair that she wore in neat braids. She rarely spoke in class and kept to herself most of the time. The other kids in school didn't really know her well. Some thought she was shy, others thought she was stuck up. But the truth was that Amara just felt more comfortable watching and listening than talking. Mr. Frank Peterson taught 7th grade math at Westview. He was tall with graying hair and small glasses that sat on the end of his nose. He had been teaching for 20 years and thought he knew everything about spotting which students were smart and which ones were not. He believed that smart students were the ones who raised their hands, asked questions, and spoke up in class. Mr. Peterson had noticed Amara sitting quietly in the back of his classroom for the past 2 months. He had called on her a few times, but she always answered in such a soft voice that he could barely hear her. After a while, he stopped calling on her and focused on the louder students. On this particular Monday morning in October, the classroom was noisy. Students were talking about the football game from the weekend. Mr. Peterson clapped his hands 3 times to get everyone's attention. Today, we are going to learn about solving basic algebraic equations, Mr. Peterson announced. He wrote an equation on the whiteboard. 3x plus 2 so 14. Who can tell me how to solve for x? Several hands shot up. Mr. Peterson called on Billy Adams, a popular boy who sat in the front row. You subtract 2 from both sides, Billy said loudly. Good. And then what? Mr. Peterson asked. Then you get 3 core 12, Billy continued. And then you divide both sides by 3, so x or 4. Excellent, Mr. Peterson said with a smile. He wrote another problem on the board. Many students raised their hands again, and the class continued this way for about 20 minutes. Mr. Peterson noticed that Amara wasn't raising her hand. She was writing in her notebook, but she didn't look up at the board much. This bothered Mr. Peterson. He thought she wasn't paying attention. Let's see if everyone is following along, Mr. Peterson said. His eyes scanned the room and stopped on Amara. Amara, since you seem so busy with your own work back there, perhaps you'd like to solve the next problem? The classroom went quiet. All heads turned to look at Amara in the back row. Her cheeks grew warm as everyone stared at her. She looked down at her notebook. I'm waiting, Amara, Mr. Peterson said with impatience in his voice. Yes, sir, Amara said softly. She looked up at the board where the equation 5x 3-22 was written. You add 3 to both sides, she said in a voice barely above a whisper. Then you get 5x, 25. Then you divide both sides by 5, so x, 5. Mr. Peterson frowned. He had expected her to struggle with the problem. That's correct, he said. He turned back to the board and wrote another basic equation. The class continued. But Mr. Peterson kept glancing at Amara. She still wasn't looking up much. She was writing something in her notebook that didn't seem to match what he was teaching. Mr. Peterson felt a surge of annoyance. He thought Amara was being disrespectful by not paying attention. Near the end of class, Mr. Peterson made a decision. He would show Amara and the rest of the class what happens when you don't pay attention. He walked over to his desk and pulled out a 10th grade advanced math textbook. He flipped through it until he found a complex equation involving quadratic functions and negative exponents. This was material that his 7th grade students wouldn't see for at least 3 more years. Amara, Mr. Peterson called out loudly. The classroom went quiet again. Since our regular classwork doesn't seem interesting enough for you, perhaps you'd like to try something more challenging? Several students snickered. They could tell that Mr. Peterson was trying to embarrass Amara. Come up to the board, Mr. Peterson said. Amara slowly got up from her seat. Her heart was beating fast as she walked to the front of the classroom. She stood next to Mr. Peterson, looking small next to his tall frame. Mr. Peterson wrote a complex equation on the board. 2a2, 7x, 15 0. This was a quadratic equation that required knowledge of the quadratic formula to solve. Solve this, Mr. Peterson said with a small smile. He was sure that Amara would not be able to do it. He wanted to teach her a lesson about paying attention in class. The other students watched with wide eyes. Some were grinning, expecting to see Amara fail. Others felt bad for her but were glad it wasn't them standing at the board. Amara looked at the equation. To everyone's surprise, she didn't look confused or scared. She picked up a piece of chalk and began to write. "This is a quadratic equation," she explained in her soft voice. "The standard form is x2 plus bx plus c are 0, where a are 2, b are 7, and c I for 15. Mr. Peterson's smile faded. He hadn't expected her to even recognize what type of equation it was. "To solve it," Amara continued, "I can use the quadratic formula. X and b plus b2, 4ac, 2a. She wrote this formula on the board and then began to substitute the values. xy, 7 to 1, 49, 4x 2x, 15, 4. X, 7 to 1, 49 plum, 1 and 20, 4. X on 7 to 1, 169, 4. X, 7 to 1, 13, 4. So x are 5 or x are 1.5. The classroom was completely silent. Mr. Peterson stared at Amara's work with his mouth slightly open. He checked her calculations quickly in his head and realized she was absolutely correct. "Where did you learn how to do this?" he asked, his voice showing his surprise. Amara shrugged slightly. "I read about it in a book from the library. I like math." Mr. Peterson was speechless. He had tried to embarrass her, but instead, she had solved a problem that most of his students wouldn't see until high school. He felt a mix of embarrassment and amazement. "That's correct," he finally said. "You can return to your seat." As Amara walked back to her desk, the other students stared at her with new eyes. No one was snickering anymore. Some looked impressed, others confused. Billy Adams, who had answered the first question of the class, looked especially shocked. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. As students gathered their books and headed for the door, Mr. Peterson called out, "Amara, please, stay for a moment." Amara stood by her desk, her eyes on the floor. She thought she was in trouble. Mr. Peterson waited until all the other students had left. He walked over to Amara and spoke in a gentler voice than she had ever heard from him before. "Amara, I owe you an apology," he said. "I made an incorrect assumption about you and I tried to embarrass you in front of the class. That was wrong of me." Amara looked up, surprised by his words. "How long have you been studying advanced math?" Mr. Peterson asked. "Since I was 9, Amara replied. "My mom works long hours as a nurse. I spend a lot of time at the library after school. They have old math textbooks that no one checks out. The librarian, Ms. Kelly, lets me take them home sometimes." Mr. Peterson nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. "And you've been teaching yourself?" "Yes. And I watch videos online when I can use the computer at the library," Amara said. "Numbers make sense to me. They follow rules. They're predictable." She said this last word as if it explained everything. Mr. Peterson took a deep breath. "Amara, I think you've been in the wrong math class. You clearly understand material, well beyond 7th grade. Would you be interested in taking a placement test? We might be able to move you to a more advanced class." For the first time, Mr. Peterson saw Amara smile. It was small, but it was definitely a smile. "I would like that," she said. "Good. I'll speak with Principal Carter today," Mr. Peterson said. He paused. "And Amara, I truly am sorry about what happened in class today." "It's okay," Amara said. "I'm used to people not noticing me." Those words hit Mr. Peterson hard. He had been teaching for 20 years, and he prided himself on recognizing talent in his students. But he had completely missed Amara's exceptional abilities because she didn't fit his idea of what a good student looked like. "Well, you've certainly been noticed now," he said. "And I think this is just the beginning for you." As Amara left the classroom, Mr. Peterson sat at his desk, thinking about how many other quiet students he might have overlooked over the years. He made a promise to himself to do better. Sometimes, he realized, the most extraordinary talents are found in the most unexpected places. The next day, the students in Mr. Peterson's math class looked at Amara differently. News had spread quickly about how she had solved a high school-level math problem. Some kids who had never spoken to her before now smiled at her in the hallway. Others watched her with curious eyes. Billy Adams, who always thought he was the smartest kid in math class, stayed away from her. Mr. Peterson had changed too. When Amara walked into class, he greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Amara. I spoke with Principal Carter yesterday about your math skills." "What did she say?" Amara asked softly. "She's very interested in meeting with you. She'll call you to her office during your English class today." Amara nodded and went to her seat. She still sat in the back row, but today she felt less invisible. During the math lesson, Mr. Peterson called on Amara several times. He asked her to explain concepts to the class when other students were confused. At first, Amara spoke so quietly that the students in the front couldn't hear her. But Mr. Peterson encouraged her to speak up, and slowly her voice grew stronger. Later that day, Amara was called to Principal Carter's office. She had never been there before. She walked down the empty hallway, her heart beating fast. When she reached the office door, she took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," called a friendly voice. Principal Susan Carter was a short woman with curly red hair and bright green eyes. She wore a blue suit and had a kind smile. Her office had plants in every corner and pictures of students on the walls. "Amara, please sit down," Principal Carter said, pointing to a chair across from her desk. "Mr. Peterson has told me something very interesting about you." Amara sat down, her hands folded in her lap. "Is it about the math problem from yesterday?" "Yes," Principal Carter nodded. "He showed me your work. It was quite impressive. He also mentioned that you've been teaching yourself advanced math for years. Is that true?" "Yes, ma'am," Amara replied. "I go to the library after school. They have old math textbooks that no one uses." Principal Carter leaned forward. "Amara, we'd like you to take a special math test. It's called a placement test. It will help us understand exactly how much math you know. Would you be willing to do that?" Amara nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I'd like that." "Excellent. The test is on the computer, and it will take about an hour. You can take it tomorrow during your regular math class." Principal Carter smiled. "Based on what Mr. Peterson has told me, I think you might be ready for a more advanced math class." The next day, Amara sat in a small room next to the principal's office. A computer was set up on the desk. Mrs. Rivera, the school counselor, explained how the test worked. "The questions will get harder as you go," Mrs. Rivera said. "Don't worry if you can't answer all of them, just do your best." Amara nodded and began the test. The first questions were simple, the kind she had been doing in Mr. Peterson's class. Then came algebra problems like the one she had solved on the board. As the test continued, the problems became more complex. There were questions about geometric shapes, negative numbers, and even some basic calculus concepts. Amara worked steadily through them all. When she finished, Mrs. Rivera looked surprised. "You completed the entire test. Most students don't get through all the questions." Amara shrugged. "Some of the last ones were hard. I'm not sure if I got them right." 3 days later, Amara was called back to Principal Carter's office. This time, Mr. Peterson was there too, along with a woman Amara had never met before. "Amara, this is Ms. Diane Lewis," Principal Carter said. "She's the head of the math department at Westview High School." Ms. Lewis smiled at Amara. She was a tall black woman with short hair and square glasses. "It's nice to meet you, Amara. I've heard a lot about you." Amara smiled shyly. "Nice to meet you too." Principal Carter held up some papers. "We have your test results, Amara. You did exceptionally well. In fact, you scored in the 99th percentile. That means you did better than 99% of students who take this test." Mr. Peterson beamed with pride. "I knew you were special, Amara. Your results show that you're already comfortable with concepts taught in 9th and 10th grade, Ms. Lewis explained. That's quite remarkable for a 7th grader. Principal Carter folded her hands on her desk. "We've been discussing what this means for your education, Amara. We think you would benefit from more advanced math classes than what we can offer here at Westview Middle School. We have a proposal," Ms. Lewis said. "We'd like you to come to the high school every morning for math class. You would join our freshman algebra class. After that class ends, You would return to the middle school for your other subjects. Amara's eyes widened. High school? But I'm only 12. Yes, and that's unusual, Principal Carter admitted. But your math abilities are also unusual. We want to make sure you're being challenged and learning new things. What do you think, Amara? Mr. Peterson asked gently. Amara thought for a moment. Would I still see my friends at lunch and stuff? Yes, Principal Carter assured her. You would only be at the high school for one period each day. The rest of your schedule would stay the same. Before we make any decisions, Ms. Lewis added, we need to talk to your parents. Could your mom or dad come in for a meeting this week? Amara looked down at her hands. It's just my mom. She works a lot. She's a nurse at City Hospital and she works the night shift. She sleeps during the day. The adults exchanged glances. Principal Carter spoke softly. Would there be a good time to call her? Maybe in the evening before her shift? She's home around 6 p.m. before she goes to work at 7, Amara said. Perfect. I'll call her tonight, Principal Carter promised. That evening, Amara was nervous as she waited for her mother to wake up. Denise Johnson worked hard to support herself and Amara. She slept from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. most days, then spent a couple of hours with Amara before heading to her 12-hour night shift at the hospital. When Denise came out of her bedroom, her eyes were still tired, but she smiled when she saw Amara. Hey, baby girl, how was school today? Good, Amara said. The principal is going to call you tonight around 6, she said. Denise frowned slightly as she poured herself a cup of coffee. The principal? Are you in some kind of trouble? No, Mom. It's about math class. Amara explained what had happened with Mr. Peterson and the special test she had taken. Denise listened carefully, her eyes growing wider. You solved a high school math problem? Baby, why didn't you tell me you were so good at math? Amara shrugged. I don't know. I just like it. The numbers make sense to me. At exactly 6 p.m., the phone rang. Denise answered and spoke with Principal Carter for nearly 20 minutes. Amara sat on the couch watching her mother's face change from surprise to pride to concern and back to pride again. When Denise hung up, she sat next to Amara on the couch. The principal says you're some kind of math genius. I'm not a genius. Mom, Amara said quickly. I just like math a lot. Well, they want to send you to high school for math class. How do you feel about that? Denise asked, studying her daughter's face. I'm a little scared, Amara admitted. The high school kids are so much older. What if they don't like me? Denise put her arm around Amara's shoulders. Baby, you've been teaching yourself math from library books for years. You're stronger than you think, and you'll only be there for one class. Do you think I should do it? Amara asked. Denise thought, for a moment. I think you should try it. If it doesn't work out, you can always go back to regular math class. But this is a special opportunity, Amara. They don't offer this to just anyone. Amara nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try it. The next day, Principal Carter set up a meeting with Denise for the weekend. Denise arranged to swap shifts with another nurse so she could attend. At the meeting, they worked out all the details. Amara would start her new schedule the following Monday. On Sunday night, Amara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about going to the high school. What would the older students think of her? Would the work be too hard? What if she failed? Her mother came to check on her before leaving for her shift. Still awake, huh? Denise sat on the edge of Amara's bed. Nervous about tomorrow? Yes, Amara whispered. Denise smoothed Amara's braids away from her face. You know, when I first started as a nurse, I was terrified. I thought I wouldn't be good enough. But you know what I learned? What? Amara asked. Sometimes the things that scare us the most are the things we need to do to grow. You've got a special gift, Amara. Don't hide it because you're afraid. Amara thought about this. I'll try my best. That's my girl, Denise said, kissing Amara's forehead. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is a big day. As her mother left for work, Amara turned over in bed. She was still nervous, but also a little excited. For the first time, someone besides her mother believed in her. Mr. Peterson, Principal Carter, and Ms. Lewis all thought she could do this. Maybe they were right. Maybe this was her chance to show what she could really do. With that thought, Amara finally drifted off to sleep, dreaming of numbers and equations and new possibilities. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Amara put on her best clothes, a pair of neat jeans and a blue sweater her mother had bought her for picture day. She brushed her braids until they shone and packed her backpack carefully. Her mother had already left for home after her night shift, but she had left a note on the kitchen table. "Good luck today, baby girl. I'm so proud of you. Love, Mom." Amara smiled at the note and tucked it into her math notebook. Then she took a deep breath and headed for school. When she arrived at Westview Middle School, Principal Carter was waiting for her at the front office. "Good morning, Amara," Principal Carter said with a warm smile. "Are you ready for your first day of high school math?" Amara nodded, though her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. "Mr. Harris, our school security guard, will drive you to the high school each morning," Principal Carter explained. "You'll take your math class there and then he'll bring you back here for your second period. Does that sound okay?" "Yes, ma'am," Amara replied softly. Mr. Harris was a friendly older man with gray hair and a kind smile. He chatted with Amara during the short drive to Westview High School, which was just a mile away from the middle school. "Don't be nervous," he told her as they pulled into the high school parking lot. "Ms. Lewis will be waiting for you at the front entrance." Sure enough, Ms. Lewis was standing outside when they arrived. She waved as Amara got out of the car. "Good morning, Amara," Ms. Lewis said. "Welcome to Westview High. Let me show you to your classroom." The high school was much bigger than the middle school. The hallways were wider, the lockers were taller, and the students were so much older. Some of them looked at Amara with curious expressions as she walked beside Ms. Lewis. Amara kept her eyes on the floor, feeling very small and out of place. Ms. Lewis led her to a classroom on the second floor. "This is room 214, where you'll have Algebra 1 with Mr. Kevin Brown. He's expecting you." She opened the door, and Amara saw a classroom of ninth graders, all of them at least 2 years older than her. They turned to look as she entered. Mr. Brown, a young black man with glasses and a friendly face, came over to greet them. "You must be Amara," he said, holding out his hand. "I'm Mr. Brown. We're very happy to have you join our class." Amara shook his hand shyly. "Thank you." "Class, this is Amara Johnson," Mr. Brown announced. "She's joining us from Westview Middle School because of her exceptional math abilities. I expect all of you to make her feel welcome." The students stared at Amara with surprised expressions. A few of them whispered to each other. Amara heard one boy say, "She's from middle school? Is this a joke?" Mr. Brown pointed to an empty desk in the second row. "You can sit there, Amara. We're just about to start our lesson on linear equations." Amara took her seat quietly. The girl next to her, a ninth grader with long blonde hair, leaned over. "I'm Lily," she whispered. "How old are you?" 12, Amara whispered back. Lily's eyes widened. "Wow, you must be really smart." Before Amara could respond, Mr. Brown began the lesson. He wrote several equations on the board and explained how to solve for 2 variables. Amara already knew this material from her library books, but she listened carefully and took notes anyway. Near the end of class, Mr. Brown handed out a worksheet. "Work with the person next to you to solve these problems," he instructed. Lily turned to Amara with a friendly smile. "Want to work together?" Amara nodded, feeling relieved. They started on the problems, and Lily soon discovered that Amara could solve them very quickly. "How do you do that so fast?" Lily asked with amazement. Amara shrugged. "I just see the patterns. Look, on this one you can solve for y first and then substitute it back into the first equation." Soon, other students were leaning over to see what they were doing. By the end of class, several ninth graders had asked Amara for help with the problems. When the bell rang, Mr. Brown called Amara to his desk while the other students filed out. "How was your first day, Amara?" he asked. "It was good," she replied. And to her surprise, she meant it. Once the class had started working on actual math, she had forgotten to be nervous. I was watching you help some of the other students, Mr. Brown said. You have a natural way of explaining things. That's a rare gift. Amara blushed at the compliment. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Brown said. Mr. Harris should be waiting for you at the front entrance to take you back to middle school. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Each morning, Amara would go to the high school for Algebra 3 and then return to Westview Middle School for her regular classes. At first, some of the middle school students teased her about being a brainiac or high school girl, but most of them soon forgot about it. In Mr. Peterson's class, Amara helped tutor other students who were struggling with math. At the high school, Amara slowly made friends with Lily and a few other ninth graders. They were impressed by her math skills and often asked for her help. But not everyone was welcoming. A boy named Ryan often made comments about how weird it was to have a little kid in their class. Some of the other boys laughed at his jokes. One day in early November, Mr. Brown gave the class a difficult test. Amara finished quickly and checked her work twice before turning it in. Ryan, who sat behind her, had been struggling with the test. When he saw Amara turn in her paper early, he whispered to his friend, "Bet she failed. No way a 7th grader can pass a high school test." The next day, Mr. Brown returned the graded tests. The class average was 78, he announced. But we had one perfect score. He held up Amara's test, which had a big 100% written in red at the top. Ryan scowled when he saw his own score of 65. After class, he bumped into Amara in the hallway, knocking her books to the floor. "Oops, sorry," he said in a voice that wasn't sorry at all. "Didn't see you down there." Lily, who had seen what happened, helped Amara pick up her books. "Ignore him," she advised. "He's just jealous because you're smarter than him." That afternoon, when Amara returned to the middle school, she was called to Principal Carter's office. To her surprise, her mother was there, still in her nurse's scrubs. She looked tired after her night shift, but she smiled when she saw Amara. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Amara asked, surprised to see her mother at school in the middle of the day. "I swapped shifts so I could be here," Denise explained. "Principal Carter called me about something important." Principal Carter gestured for Amara to sit down. "Amara, I've been getting reports from Mr. Brown about your progress in Algebra Y. He says you're not just keeping up with the high school students, you're outperforming most of them." Amara looked down modestly. "The work isn't that hard for me." "That's exactly what we wanted to discuss," Principal Carter continued. "Mr. Brown believes you're ready for even more advanced math. He's suggested that you take the final exam for Algebra I now, and if you pass, you could move into geometry next semester." Amara's eyes widened. "Skip the rest of Algebra I?" "You already know the material," Principal Carter explained. "There's no reason for you to spend 6 more months on concepts you've already mastered." Denise leaned forward. What exactly would this mean for Amara's schedule? She would continue going to the high school each morning, but she'd be in a different class, Principal Carter said. "The geometry class has mostly 10th graders." Amara felt a flutter of anxiety. The 9th graders had finally started to accept her. Now she would have to start all over again with older students. Denise noticed her daughter's expression. "What do you think about this, Amara? It's your decision." Amara thought for a moment. "Would I still see Lily and my other friends?" Principal Carter smiled. "You'd still see them in the hallways, and you could eat lunch with them if you wanted. To stay at the high school during lunch period. If I take the exam and don't pass, can I stay in Mr. Brown's class?" Amara asked. "Of course," Principal Carter assured her. "But based on what Mr. Brown has told me, I don't think passing will be a problem for you." Amara looked at her mother. "What do you think I should do?" Denise took her daughter's hand. "Baby, I think you should keep moving forward. If the work is too easy, you'll get bored. And being bored isn't good for that beautiful brain of yours." Amara smiled at her mother's words. "Okay, I'll take the exam." "Excellent," Principal Carter said. "Mr. Brown has prepared a special final exam for you. You can take it next Monday." Over the weekend, Amara studied hard, reviewing all her notes and working through practice problems. Her mother brought home pizza on Saturday night to celebrate Amara's decision. I'm so proud of you, Denise told her as they ate. You know that, right? Amara nodded. I'm a little scared about moving to a class with 10th graders. They're even older. You've already shown you can handle 9th grade, Denise reminded her. And you'll have Mr. Brown's recommendation. That counts for a lot. On Monday, Amara took the algebra final exam in a small room next to Mr. Brown's classroom. The test was challenging, but Amara worked through each problem methodically. When she finished, she felt confident about her answers. 2 days later, Mr. Brown called her to his desk after class. I graded your final exam, he said, handing her the test paper. Amara looked at the score. 98%. Congratulations, Mr. Brown said with a broad smile. You're officially ready for geometry. I've already spoken with Mrs. Garcia, the geometry teacher. She's excited to have you in her class after winter break. After winter break, Amara started her new geometry class at Westview High School. Mrs. Garcia was a short woman with curly gray hair and bright eyes that missed nothing. On Amara's first day, Mrs. Garcia introduced her to the class without making a big deal about her age. This is Amara Johnson. She completed algebra last semester and will be joining our class, Mrs. Garcia said simply. Then she pointed to an empty seat. You can sit there next to Carlos. Carlos was a quiet 10th grader with dark hair who nodded politely as Amara sat down. He didn't stare at her or whisper about her age like some of the other students did. He just passed her a worksheet and said, We're working on page 12. The geometry class was harder than Algebra Y. They studied angles, shapes, and proofs. Amara had to think in new ways. She couldn't just follow formulas. She had to explain why the formulas worked. But Amara loved the challenge. Each problem was like a puzzle to solve. Carlos turned out to be a good partner. He was serious about math and didn't mind working with Amara. Sometimes they would compare solutions and check each other's work. Amara found that Carlos caught mistakes she missed, and she caught mistakes he made. We make a good team, Carlos told her one day after they had both earned perfect scores on a quiz. Amara smiled. Yes, we do. February brought the news that the school district would hold its first Math Olympiad in March. The Math Olympiad was a competition where students from different schools would solve difficult math problems. Mrs. Garcia announced it to the class one Monday morning. Each high school can send 5 students to compete, she explained. I will choose our team based on test scores and problem-solving abilities. Many students looked excited. Carlos turned to Amara. Are you going to try out? Amara shook her head. I don't think so. It sounds scary. After class, Mrs. Garcia called Amara to her desk. Amara, I'd like you to consider joining our Math Olympiad team. Me? Amara was surprised. But I'm not even a high school student. I just take this. One class here. The competition is open to students from grades 7 through 12, Mrs. Garcia explained. And you're one of the strongest math students I've ever taught. Even though I'm only in 7th grade? Amara asked. Age doesn't matter in mathematics, Mrs. Garcia said firmly. Only your ability to solve problems. Will you at least think about it? Amara nodded. I'll think about it. That afternoon, Amara told Mr. Peterson about the Math Olympiad. He was still her math teacher at the middle school, though now he gave her special projects to work on while the other students did their regular lessons. You should definitely do it, Mr. Peterson encouraged her. What an opportunity. But what if I fail? Amara worried. Everyone would laugh at me. Mr. Peterson shook his head. Amara, do you remember the day I gave you that high school math problem as a joke? I thought you would fail, but you proved me wrong. You keep proving people wrong. Why stop now? Amara thought about this. I'll talk to my mom about it. That evening, Amara explained the Math Olympiad to her mother. Denise listened carefully while making dinner. So Mrs. Garcia wants you on the team? Denise asked. She said I should consider it, Amara replied. But Mom, the other students on the team would be in high school. Some might even be seniors. Denise stirred the pot of stew she was making. Are you worried about the math being too hard? Or are you worried about being the youngest one there? Amara thought for a moment. Both, I guess. Well, if Mrs. Garcia thinks you can handle the math, then I believe her, Denise said. As for being the youngest, you've already shown you can handle being in classes with older students. But this is a competition, Amara said. What if I let the team down? Denise put down her spoon and looked directly at her daughter. Amara, listen to me. 6 months ago, you were hiding your math skills. Now you're taking 10th grade geometry and your teachers think you're good enough for a math competition. Do you know how amazing that is? Amara shrugged, but she felt a small glow of pride. Here's what I think, Denise continued. I think you should join the team. Try your best. And if you don't win, so what? You'll have tried something new and challenging. That's how we grow. The next day, Amara told Mrs. Garcia that she would join the Math Olympiad team. Mrs. Garcia looked pleased. Excellent. We'll have practice sessions every Tuesday and Thursday after school. Can you stay for those? Amara nodded. My mom said she can pick me up on her way to work. The Math Olympiad team consisted of 5 students, Amara, Carlos, and 3 seniors named Elena, Josh, and Marcus. At their first practice session, the others were surprised to see Amara. Aren't you that middle school kid who's taking geometry? Josh asked. Yes, Amara replied quietly. But she's got the highest average in my geometry class, Mrs. Garcia added, even higher than some of you seniors. Elena looked impressed. Really? That's cool. Marcus seemed less convinced. The Math Olympiad isn't just about getting good grades, it's about solving tricky problems under pressure. That's why we practice, Mrs. Garcia said firmly. Now, let's get started. The practice problems were harder than anything Amara had seen before. They involved complex patterns, geometry, and creative thinking. At first, Amara felt lost. The seniors worked quickly, calling out answers while she was still reading the problems. After that first practice, Amara felt discouraged. Maybe I'm not ready for this, she told Carlos as they packed up their things. Don't give up, Carlos encouraged her. It was just the first day. You'll get better. Carlos was right. By the third practice session, Amara was keeping up with the others. By the 5th session, she was often the first to solve certain types of problems. The seniors stopped seeing her as the middle school kid and started seeing her as a valuable team member. You have a different way of looking at problems, Elena told her one day. You see patterns that the rest of us miss. The day of the math. Olympiad arrived on a sunny Saturday in March. 10 schools from the district were competing. Each team had 5 members who would work together on a set of challenging problems. The competition would last 3 hours. Amara's mother took the day off work to come watch. She sat in the audience with Mr. Peterson, who had also come to support Amara. Principal Carter and Ms. Lewis were there too. I'm so nervous, Amara whispered to her mother before joining her team. Denise hugged her tightly. You've got this. Baby girl, just do your best. The Westview High team sat at a long table. Each team member had scratch paper, pencils, and a calculator. Mrs. Garcia gave them a final pep talk. Remember, work together, check each other's work, and most importantly, have fun with the math. The competition began. A teacher from another school handed out the problem sets, 10 pages of difficult math questions. The room fell silent as students began to work. The Westview team developed a system. They each started on different problems, then compared their work. If someone got stuck, another team member would help. Amara found that she was especially good at the pattern recognition problems. Carlos excelled at the geometry questions. The seniors handled the advanced algebra. As the clock ticked down, they worked faster. With just 10 minutes left, they had one problem remaining, a complex question involving both geometry and algebra. I can't figure out the approach, Marcus said, frowning at the paper. Let me try, Amara said. She studied the problem carefully. Suddenly, she saw a pattern. What if we look at it this way? She quickly sketched a diagram on her scratch paper. The team gathered around her work. That's it, Elena exclaimed. If we use that approach, the solution is much simpler. They solved the final problem just as the timer went off. Mrs. Garcia collected their papers and the teams waited anxiously while the judges scored their work. After what seemed like hours, the judges announced the results. In third place, Oak Ridge High School. Applause filled the room. In second place, Lincoln Academy. More applause. And in first place, Westview High School. The Westview team jumped up in celebration. Carlos hugged Amara, lifting her off her feet. We did it. We won. The team went forward to receive their trophy and medals. The judge who handed Amara her medal looked surprised at how young she was, but smiled warmly. Congratulations, young lady. After the ceremony, Amara ran to her mother. Denise had tears in her eyes as she hugged her daughter. I am so proud of you, she whispered. Mr. Peterson was beaming. Didn't I tell you she was special? He said to Denise. And to think this all started because I tried to embarrass her with a hard math problem. Denise looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Mr. Peterson looked uncomfortable. It's a long story, but I learned an important lesson that day. Principal Carter interrupted them. Amara, a reporter from the local newspaper wants to take a picture of the winning team. Can you join them? As Amara walked back to her team, she felt different than she had 6 months ago. She was no longer the invisible girl in the back row. She had found her voice, her confidence, and her place, all because a teacher had tried to embarrass her with a math problem, but had instead discovered her hidden talent. The reporter took several photos of the team holding their trophy. Can you tell me a little about your team? He asked Mrs. Garcia. This is a special group, Mrs. Garcia replied. They work together beautifully, and I'd like to point out that our youngest member, Amara, is actually a 7th grader from Westview Middle School who takes advanced math classes with us. The Monday after the Math Olympiad, Amara arrived at school to find that everyone knew her name. The local newspaper had published an article about the competition with the headline, 7th grader helps high school team win Math Olympiad. There was a photo of the team with Amara in the center, holding the trophy and smiling shyly. The article told the story of how Mr. Peterson had given Amara a difficult math problem as a joke, only to discover her hidden talent. Students who had never spoken to Amara before now stopped her in the hallway to congratulate her. Teachers smiled at her and said things like, "Well done, Amara." Even the principal made an announcement over the loudspeaker congratulating the extraordinary Amara Johnson for her achievement. At lunch, Amara sat with her usual small group of friends. They were excited about the newspaper article. "You're famous now," said her friend Zoe, showing her the newspaper. "My mom saved this for you." "I'm not famous," Amara protested, but she couldn't help smiling as she looked at the article. After school, Mr. Peterson asked Amara to stay for a few minutes. He seemed a bit nervous. "Amara, I owe you another apology," he said. "I didn't realize the newspaper would mention how I gave you that problem as a joke. I hope you're not upset about that part of the story being public." Amara thought for a moment. "I'm not upset. If you hadn't given me that problem, none of this would have happened. I'd still be sitting in the back row not talking to anyone." Mr. Peterson nodded. "Sometimes the best things come from our mistakes. I'm just glad my mistake turned out well for you." The next day, Amara received a surprise. The district superintendent, Dr. Patricia Green, came to visit Westview Middle School. She asked to meet with Amara, Principal Carter, and Mr. Peterson. Dr. Green was a tall woman with short white hair and a serious face, but she smiled warmly at Amara. "I read about your achievement in the newspaper, Amara. It's quite remarkable." "Thank you," Amara said quietly. "Your story has made me think about how we identify gifted students in our district," Dr. Green continued. "How many other students like you might we be missing? Students with special talents who are quiet or don't fit our usual expectations." Principal Carter nodded. "That's a good question." "I have a proposal," Dr. Green said. "I'd like to start a new program to better identify and support mathematically gifted students, especially from underrepresented groups. And I'd like Amara to help us design it." Amara's eyes widened. "Me? But what could I do?" "You could tell us about your experience," Dr. Green explained. What helped you? What barriers did you face? Your insights could help us create a better system. I think that's a wonderful idea, Mr. Peterson said. Amara has a unique perspective that could be valuable. Amara thought about it. I'd like to help, but I'm not sure what to say. Just tell your story, Dr. Green encouraged. That's all we need. Over the next few weeks, Amara met several times with Dr. Green and a committee of teachers and administrators. At first, she was nervous about speaking in front of so many adults, but they listened carefully to her words and took notes. Amara told them about how she had taught herself math from library books, because the regular classwork was too easy. She explained how she'd kept quiet about her abilities because she didn't want to stand out or seem different. She described how Mr. Peterson's challenge had changed everything for her. Before that day, I thought being good at math was something to hide, Amara explained. I didn't know it could be something to be proud of. Dr. Green asked Amara what might have helped her earlier. Amara thought about this carefully. Maybe if someone had noticed sooner that I finished my work quickly and always got everything right, she suggested. Or if there had been harder problems available for students who wanted them, or if someone had just asked me what I was interested in. The committee used Amara's suggestions to create a new program called Pathways to Excellence. The program would include regular assessments to identify students with special talents in math, science, and other subjects. It would provide advanced materials for students who needed more challenges. And it would create mentoring relationships between younger students and older ones, like the connection Amara had formed with Carlos. Dr. Green asked Amara if she would be willing to be a student advisor for the program. Amara agreed, feeling proud that her experience could help other students. Spring arrived, and with it came more changes for Amara. Her geometry teacher, Mrs. Garcia, suggested that she take an entrance exam for the Summer Math Institute at the local university. The program was usually for high school students, but Mrs. Garcia thought Amara might qualify despite her age. The Summer Math Institute is very selective, Mrs. Garcia warned. Only 20 students from the entire state are accepted each year, but I think you have a chance. Amara decided to apply. She took the entrance exam, which was the hardest test she had ever seen. She wasn't sure how well she had done, but she had tried her best. 6 weeks later, a letter arrived at the Johnson home. Denise called Amara into the kitchen where she was sitting with the opened envelope. Baby girl, you've been accepted to the Summer Math Institute, Denise said, her voice filled with pride. Full scholarship. Amara couldn't believe it. Really? But Mrs. Garcia said it's usually for high school students. The letter says you're the youngest student ever accepted to the program, Denise explained. They were very impressed by your entrance exam and your Math Olympiad achievement. Amara's face lit up with excitement. When does it start? July 1st. It's a 4-week program, Denise said. I've already requested time off work for the first day so I can take you there and help you get settled. As summer approached, Amara completed her 7th grade year at Westview Middle School and her geometry class at the high school. She had earned top grades in all her subjects. Principal Carter told her that next year she would take Algebra 2 at the high school. If she continued at this pace, she would complete all the high school math courses before she even entered 9th grade. On the last day of school, Mr. Peterson gave Amara a gift, a beautiful notebook with her name engraved on the cover. For all your mathematical ideas, he told her. I can't wait to see what you'll accomplish next. July 1st arrived, and Amara and her mother drove to the university campus for the Summer Math Institute. The program was housed in a large brick building with ivy growing on the walls. 20 students from around the state had gathered in a classroom, most of them at least 4 or 5 years older than Amara. The program director, Professor Lin, welcomed them all. You are here because you have shown exceptional mathematical ability, she said. Over the next 4 weeks, we will challenge you, inspire you, and introduce you to mathematical concepts you may never have seen before. You will work hard, but you will also have fun exploring the beauty of mathematics. As Professor Lin spoke, a tall boy sitting next to Amara leaned over and whispered, Is this your first time at the Institute? Yes, Amara whispered back. I'm Amara. I'm Devin, the boy replied. This is my 2nd year. Don't worry if it seems overwhelming at first. Everyone feels that way. Amara smiled gratefully. She was nervous about being the youngest student, but Devon's friendly welcome made her feel better. After the introduction, Professor Lin asked each student to say a few words about themselves. When it was Amara's turn, she stood up with more confidence than she would have had a year ago. "I'm Amara Johnson," she said in a clear voice. "I'm 12 years old and I just finished 7th grade at Westview Middle School. I take geometry at the high school. Math is my favorite subject because it makes sense to me. There are patterns and rules that always work. I'm excited to be here and learn new things." Professor Lin smiled. "Welcome, Amara. We're very glad to have you with us." That evening, as Denise prepared to leave Amara at the dormitory where the students would stay, she hugged her daughter tightly.
"I am so proud of who you're becoming," Denise said. "Remember when all this started? When Mr. Peterson gave you that problem as a joke?" Amara nodded. "That seems like a long time ago." "Look how far you've come since then," Denise said. "From
The quiet girl in the back row to a student at the Summer Math Institute. And this is just the beginning. As her mother drove away, Amara stood on the steps of the dormitory. She thought about everything that had happened in the past year. Mr. Peterson's challenge, the high school math classes, the Math Olympiad, the new district program, and now the Summer Math Institute. Each step had taken her further from where she started. She remembered something Mrs. Garcia had once told her. Mathematics is about seeing patterns and connections that others might miss. Amara now understood that life was like that too. One small moment, like a teacher giving a student a difficult problem as a joke, could connect to something bigger. That connection could lead to opportunities and changes that no one could have predicted. Amara smiled as she turned to enter the dormitory. She didn't know exactly where her journey would take her next, but she was ready to find out. The quiet girl from the back row had found her voice, her confidence, and her path forward. And it had all started with a math problem that was meant to be a joke, but had instead revealed a hidden talent that would change her life forever.